Hey everyone, welcome back to Endless Money Pits. This is a 2001 Chevrolet Corvette, and today I'll show you how to replace the brake pads and rotors. The brake pads should be replaced when they start squealing against the rotors, or when the pads are worn down to the wear grooves, and the rotors should be replaced when they're warped, or become too thin to use with a new set of pads based on the specifications of the rotors. I'm replacing the brakes on this car because the rear pads are worn out, but the owner wants to upgrade to drilled and slotted rotors, so I'll be doing all 4 brakes. I'll be demonstrating on the front, but the procedure is the same for the rear. If you've never done a brake job before, this will be easier than you think, so let's get to it. Here are the tools that I used for this job. Impact wrench, torque wrench, 21mm socket, 19mm socket, 15mm socket, socket extension, 18mm wrench, 16mm wrench, flathead screwdriver, a pair of Dikes, brake caliper compressor, floor jack, and 4 jack stands. For this job I also needed wood blocks with rubber mats, gloves, a stool, a light, a rag, turkey baster, plastic container, a new set of brake pads, and a new set of rotors. These rotors are zinc plated, but sometimes they come coated in a layer of grease to prevent rust, in which case you'd need to degrease them before installation. There are links in the description for everything I used. I'll start by putting the car on 4 jack stands. This car has been lowered, so I needed wood blocks to make room for my floor jack. You can do the front and rear separately, but it's more impressive this way. You can safely lift and support the C5 Corvette at these points. Each brake caliper is secured with 2 15mm bolts. I rested the caliper on top of the upper control arm, but later decided this would have been a better place for it. These pads came out easily, but some of them had to be pried out with a flathead screwdriver. These front pads still have a lot of life left. The brake caliper mounting bracket is secured with 2 21mm bolts. Try not to drop it.
It's fine.
One of the rear brake rotors had these retaining discs that were a pain to remove. These brake rotors are directional, but you don't go by the orientation of the slots or the drill holes. You need to make sure the curved inner vanes are oriented so that they lean toward the rear of the car. These are not designed to scoop air toward the hub, they're designed to fling hot air away from the hub. If the vanes in the brake rotors are not slanted, the rotors can be installed in either orientation, but the orientation of the slots and the holes on the face of the rotor don't make any difference. Mount the rotor and install the caliper bracket. I couldn't fit a torque wrench in this space, so I just made sure to get them tight with the impact wrench. This metal piece is what scrapes on the rotors and makes that horrible noise to let you know that the brake pads need to be replaced soon. If you install it on the outside, then you'll also be able to see the marks in the rotor when it starts scraping, making it easy to confirm when the pads are worn out. Or you can install them in the inside position for a slightly cleaner look. Because the new pads are thicker than the old worn pads, we'll have to compress the pistons in the brake caliper to make it fit over them. Sometimes people try to use a C-clamp or a big set of pliers, but this $25 tool makes things a lot easier. Compressing the pistons forces brake fluid back up the lines, so keep an eye on the brake fluid reservoir while doing this to make sure it doesn't overflow. This brake fluid looks pretty dirty, so I'll show you how to replace it in an upcoming video. I used an old turkey baster to remove the excess fluid. Brake fluid will ruin your paint, so make sure not to spill any. When installing the brake caliper bolts, I needed to hold these in place with an 18mm wrench in the front and a 16mm wrench on the rear calipers. Reinstall the wheel and repeat 3 more times. When you're done, put the car back on the ground and torque the lug nuts to 100 foot-pounds, but we're not done yet. Before driving, it's important to pump the brakes a few times until you feel pressure in the pedal again. Bedding in the brakes is an important step in getting your brakes to function their best, which most people don't do. Basically, we'll build up heat in the brakes until some of the pad material bonds to the rotors. This will help the brakes last longer and work significantly better. It's especially important to do when mixing new pads with used rotors that have grooves worn in them. So here's the general procedure. First of all, during the procedure, you never want to come to a complete stop because the pads could actually melt to the rotors. And make sure not to brake hard enough to lock up the tires or trigger the ABS. Step 1. Find a road with nobody around. Step 2. Get the brakes warm by quickly decelerating from 35 to 5 miles per hour 3 times in a row. Step 3. Get the brakes hot by quickly decelerating from 50 to 5 miles per hour 5 times in a row. Step 4. Drive for 5 minutes without using the brakes much if possible to let them cool down. And that's it. Follow the procedure in my upcoming video on flushing the brake fluid in this car, and your Corvette will stop better than new. If you liked this video, make sure to subscribe for more of the best DIY videos on the internet. And until next time, just keep throwing money at it.